Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Henchman's Memoirs. This is the first installment in what will hopefully be an ongoing series where we're going to put into practice some of the ideas that were introduced in our video last week. The basic premise here is encounter design is your bread and butter as a dungeon master. The way to create a cool campaign and a cool dungeon, I'm claiming, is to have cool individual encounters that are memorable and let the sort of story size of things take care of itself, and to really focus on creating great encounters. So this encounter is going to be a first level sort of encounter that you could have at the entrance of your dungeon, which is actually where I'm going to have it. I'm going to be running the 5th edition version of Abomination Vaults for one of my Ravenloft campaigns. And the room we're looking at is A4 right here. The way it's written in the book, room A4 has a few of these little Mitflit guys. The folks over at Pathfinder and Paizo love using these guys. They're the updated version of what we used to call a mite back in sort of 2nd edition days. But they're these little annoying gremlin guys. They're kind of not thoroughgoingly evil. They're just kind of mischievous and maybe a little bit malicious, but not 100% evil. And the original encounter just has a couple of them in this room with sort of a maggot that they're trying to train or something, and the party just walks in here and fights them or doesn't, and that's sort of the whole encounter. So we're going to try to spruce that up a little bit to give you an opening encounter for your dungeon that has our 3 T's. Time pressure, has something dynamic happening with the terrain, and has some sort of twist or gimmick with the monster that will make things more memorable for your party. So the way they have this in here, this first floor is sort of ruined. The ceiling has fallen in. You see there's a bunch of sort of debris and piles of rubble here. And the first thing I thought of was, why not have the Mitflits sort of up on the ruins of these walls, able to climb up this rubble and kind of ambushing the party instead of just down here at the same level as the party. So my idea is basically to set it up so as the party comes in, some of the walls are basically piles of gravel and rubble, which I'm going to use these grass and bush terrain pieces to represent. And so our party comes in, represented here by Rudolph Van Richten, Esmeralda, and just a generic Ravenloft witch hunter. The 3 of them are going to come in, and the terrain feature, the first thing that's going to make this encounter work, is this terrain feature. I want this gravel to be shifty enough and sort of unstable enough that the Mitflits, with their sort of flappy Muppet feet, they can climb up and down the gravel no problem, right? But when the party tries to actually climb up here to get to grips with any of these Mitflits that are taunting them and shooting sling bolts at them and so forth, the party's going to have to make climb checks to scramble up this. And if they fail the climb check, it's not just difficult terrain. They literally can't get up there without a successful climb check. And you go ahead and make this, if you've got first level characters, maybe it's a DC 12, DC 13 climb check to get up there. So that's our terrain feature. The second thing that I'm including in this encounter is a twist with the monsters. Specifically, the twist I have in mind, so Mitflits and mites have sort of empathy with all sorts of bugs and arthropods, right? So I thought it might be interesting if these Mitflits, they have these sort of clay pot grenade things that are full of like stink bugs, full of some kind of bug that gives off sort of a venomous spray, a sort of irritating spray or a musk or something, that they can throw this at the party. and if they hit the square that the player is in, the things are released. The clay breaks, and all these stink bugs are released, and they kind of spray this eye-watering stuff everywhere, and the player is blinded for a round. Right? You could either do it so they have to make an attack roll, and if the attack roll is successful, then they're blinded for a round, or you could make it so they just have to hit the square, but then the player gets some kind of saving throw. Okay, so that's the twist. The other twist that has to do with the Mitflits, I love the idea that the lowest of the Mitflits, the mites themselves, right? These poor little gremlin outcasts. When the Mitflits blind somebody, the mites scurry down on their turn, and they try to pickpocket something from the blinded character. The blinded character won't get an attack of opportunity. Maybe the mite will have advantage on his attempt to pickpocket something from the character and then run away. So now the players that can see are going to see these little mites scurrying down and trying to pickpocket their brethren and get away. And of course, eventually, I picture the Mitflits are saying in Arak or whatever the Feywild language is in your campaign, they're basically like, give us your shinies and we will let you live, or you may go. I'm going to have something drop down and kind of block the exit as soon as the party gets in. So they really just want to embarrass and rob the party. They're not trying to full on murder them, but depending on how many people are blinded and sort of how many ranged weapons they have and so forth, this might not be enough to make for a really good encounter. That's why we're adding our timer. So again, their arthropod empathy. I'm going to have a mite up here with, Mitflit bagpipes or something. And as soon as the ambush goes off, he starts playing the bagpipes. And so every round on his turn, I'm going to drop this D4 on the table. And that's how many giant centipedes are called up out of sort of the, I can have some piles of rubble, maybe get my old pile of bones. I can have those in the room when it starts, and then the bagpipe player, every round some giant centipedes come out and can additionally harass the party. Obviously, don't make these too beefy. They got to be, easy kills for the party. We're first level here, and we're already laying a lot on them. But this is just a quick, dirty example. You can use this tonight for your, as the party approaches your dungeon. If there's any above ground ruins, you have the terrain of the difficult to climb piles of rubble. You've got your timer of your bagpipe guy who's calling out the giant centipedes, and you've got your twist, which is the Mitflits are actually more interested in blinding and then robbing the party as opposed to getting into any real fight. So inevitably, a couple of them are going to end up getting killed by the party, and the rest are going to run away, and then we'll get into our next encounter next time. But this is just an example of encounter design that you can try. We'll catch you next week on the Henchman's Memoirs.